Hey clowns, welcome to Crimenelia Street. I'm Sam.
And I'm Tori, and we are gathered here today. Again.
We're here, once again. Joyfully.
All two of us are gathered joyfully.
Yes.
For the time being.
Right.
I saw some updates on the Ellen Greenberg case, and she's the one who was ruled a suicide, but she was stabbed over 20 times and in her head and neck. So the Chester County District Attorney's Office had taken over the case because they said, and I quote, not to appear that there's a conflict of interest. They're not admitting that there is one, but they're saying we don't want it to appear that it is. So I thought that wording was interesting.
Right.
But Chester County's been looking at it since 2022, and they just came out and announced, I believe in November, that they are moving the case to inactive status and that they can't prove without a reasonable doubt that any crime was committed as far as trying to cover things up. So that's an interesting take. And the family's lawyer, the Greenberg's lawyer, says that they did not thoroughly reinvestigate the case and that they didn't look into any of the new evidence that was presented. So I think they're going to continue pursuing other legal avenues. But yeah, that was kind of disappointing.
I heard something about, so the district attorney who, I don't know the exact specifics, but he was doing this interview where he was talking about the United Healthcare CEO murder. And he was like, murder is wrong no matter what. And then it cuts to a clip, and he's the guy that was signing bombs.
Oh my
Have you
God.
seen that?
Yeah.
That's the same guy. So he's somehow involved in that, because people in the comments were talking about Ellen Greenberg. I was like, oh my gosh, I know this.
Oh, so
and
that's
so
the same DA that...
I think so. I don't know if it's the same right now, but he just was the DA and had some hand in the Ellen Greenberg case going that way, not as a suicide instead of actively investigating it. So
I wonder if it was in the jurisdiction that it was in previously.
Right,
wow.
right.
I didn't realize he was connected. I did see that, but I didn't realize he was connected to Ellen Greenberg.
Yeah, I thought that was wild.
They're also trying to sue the city as well for inflicted emotional distress on the Greenberg because they won't change it, I think, from suicide to homicide, or just take suicide off. I think they're even okay with that. And I believe they lost that battle as well. Sandy Greenberg, which is Ellen's mom, was quoted saying, "We have the city against us, trying everything in their toolbox to try and make us quit, and that emboldens me." So that's
go mama. Yeah, for sure.
And then they're also trying to get the state Supreme Court to amend the ruling on the death certificate to get suicide taken off as well. And I think they're expecting a decision by the end of January on that.
Wow, so we'll have some more updates soon.
Yeah. So kind of disappointing what has come of it so far, but hopefully they'll be able to get that changed. I know that's really important to them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Did you hear about the Ancestry DNA thing? That solved this cold case? So there's this one town.
Funny you ask, because I did hear about a DNA thing solving a case, but I don't think it's the same one. But go on, maybe it is.
Well, so in 1997, a deceased infant was found in a campground in one of those standalone toilets with a pit in the ground. I know, so horrible. And it was full to term and everything. And it was this cold case. And it's a very small town. Everyone knows each other. So they were assuming it's someone just passing through or whatever. But this girl takes the Ancestry DNA little kit thing that you can buy, and a month or two later she's contacted by the FBI, and they're like, your DNA match it, there's links in your DNA. And it turns out it was her aunt who did this. She had some kind of affair or something like that, and that happened, so her aunt got arrested. But she said her aunt's an asshole, obviously.
Clearly.
But,
yeah.
Right.
Wow, the unintentional snitch.
Right? It was so crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah. Good. That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they called her Baby Garnet. Yeah. But So kind of, happy-ish.
It's crazy the way that it's got a happy ending-ish. Mm-hmm. It's crazy the way that genetic DNA is adding into true crime in this day and age. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see a lot of unsolved cases get solved. Speaking of that, I did see someone named Luis Armando Albino went missing in 1951, and they ended up just recently finding him alive, and I'm pretty sure it was also through like some kind of genetic DNA. I don't know if it was ancestry, but he thought, he was like abducted by these parents when he was 6 years old, or by this couple. And then they ended up convincing him that they were like his biological parents, and he grew up with them thinking that he like served in the military and had a pretty normal life, and he's just gotten reunited with his like actual birth family. Oh, that's what they did. They tricked him with the old "I have candy in my van" trick. And then his like older brother or younger brother, he was with his brother that day, and his brother like followed the van but wouldn't get in it until like he couldn't follow anymore, and then he went and told his parents, and they had been searching for him ever since. So that poor brother had to be traumatized, almost maybe more. I don't know about more, but because the other one was kind of tricked into, oh, we're your real family. Anyways, crazy, but he's found, he's fine.
That's
he's
awesome.
On the other side of the country.
Yeah, that is insane. Oh, I can't even imagine.
Right? Woo. Yeah. Wild. Right.
There was that whole Hannah Kobayashi thing too, like the girl who went missing. She just like it's a green card scam, I guess. But I just think, and like they're saying that her family kind of knew about it, but still had the GoFundMe's going anyway. And it's like her dad unfortunately took his life in LA while looking for her.
Oh, that's this case. Okay.
Yeah. And it was weird because on Instagram, the only people she was following was like the Twin Ray cult that's in Ashland, Oregon.
Right. Okay.
Which is like really weird. But yeah, apparently she was just trying to, it's like some Argentinian couple that her and her boyfriend, they were marrying the couple. So they had to like break up, and then they had to like travel with the respective couple that they were marrying for the green card money to make it look like they're in an actual relationship. And I don't know, it's a whole mess, but she's fine. And she wants to stay in Mexico.
Though. Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah, a lot of, people were saying that her and her father had been estranged for a long time, but at the end of the day, like it seems like, he flew to LA to look for her, and something happened.
It's hard to see it as unrelated.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, never mind. She's been found. So, yeah. That's pretty much that.
I guess we just go right into the sad stuff this time then.
Yeah,
sad stuff. So Sam initially, and I initially as well, thought that I was going to do the Dyatlov Pass incident this episode, but I just kind of wasn't feeling it, and I'll probably do it at a different point. But I was watching the John Mulaney, like, most recent special. That whole one was about, like, his recovery and stuff. It was a pretty good special. I recommend it. But in it, he mentioned something called the Los Feliz House, which he said had, like, a really dark history. Have you heard of it?
I don't think so. I don't think so, no.
It was the inspiration for American Horror Story Season 1, Murder House.
Oh, fun. Okay, cool.
I didn't realize that until the end of my research, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's called the Los Feliz Murder House. Looming over the neighboring houses atop a hill at the end of a cul-de-sac, in an affluent neighborhood sits a vacant home known as the Los Feliz Murder House, or the Los Feliz Murder Mansion. And the way it sits on top of this, like, super steep hill is really imposing. It's got these huge, like, glass windows, and it just kind of gives that feeling that it's like looking down upon all the houses around it. This home has been vacant since December of 1959. The last tenants, not the last owner of the house, was the Pearlson family. Leading up to the front door is about 50 stairs that ascends this super steep hill. If you're facing the house on the left side of the front facade of the house is a tall glass window that showcases an interior staircase that leads up to the 3rd floor. So it's just like a really unique element of the house. You don't really see like a staircase and a window like that very often, but it definitely gives the vibe that someone should just be like standing on that staircase looking down upon like the neighborhood around it. Yeah. Glass is tinted yellow on this window, and it's unclear if it was originally yellow or if it's just turned yellow from aging. The setting of this house, I already mentioned that it's in an affluent neighborhood. The neighborhood is called Los Feliz, which is in Hollywood Hills in California, and many notable wealthy people have lived in this neighborhood over the years. Los Feliz means the happy in Spanish. It's right near Griffith Park, which apparently whoever Griffith Park was named after also has a dark history. I haven't looked into that though, so I'm a little intrigued by that. And it's mostly historic large homes in the Spanish Revival style, which was really popular in the 1920s when this neighborhood was initially being occupied. There is a curse rumored to be on the neighborhood of Los Feliz. Los Feliz Ranchos was given to Jose Picente in 1795 for his service to the government, and after his death it was passed down to Don Feliz, and then Petronella Feliz was supposed to inherit it next, but she was cut out of the will by 2 men who took advantage of her uncle. She's thought to have put a curse on the land. Crops would suffer from blight, livestock would die, and future owners of the land would suffer awful deaths. Also, behind the house sits the Inez house, which you can see behind the Los Feliz house, and that house is where House on the Haunted Hill was filmed, and that movie came out in February of 1959. Some brief history of the house. The address is 2475 Glendower Place. The home was designed by Harry Werner, who was a renowned architect. He mostly worked for wealthy people in the area, and he actually designed the first Carl's Jr.
What do you know?
Construction of the house completed in 1925 for Harry F. Schumacher and his wife Florence. Both Florence and Harry Schumacher unfortunately met their untimely deaths 3 years later after moving into the house in 1928. We'll get more into that as the story goes. The house was built on a hill with a very steep grade, requiring someone to climb many steps to reach its entrance. There was a garage also, and it was built at the very bottom of the hill. When Harry and his wife passed away, Harry's brother Orlando became the administrator of Harry's estate. Orlando moved into the home with his wife and child from August 1928 through May 1929. He was then able to find a few renters. They actually had just moved in because they wanted to upkeep the property because they couldn't find renters or sell it at the time. He was eventually able to find some renters who inhabited the house from July 1929 until May 1932. Everyone who rented the house was in the Hollywood industry, including George Arliss, who apparently was a famous actor in the 1930s. The house was then purchased by John Stauffer and his wife Beverly and their son Jack. Well, Jack didn't purchase the house, but he did move in with them. They all lived happily in the house for about 32 years before John and Beverly retired, and they wanted to move into a smaller place, so they got an apartment in this city and ended up donating the house in 1954 to Whittier College. Whittier College owned the house from 1954 to 1956. In 1956, the Dr. Harold Pearlson and Lily Pearlson purchased the house, and they moved in with their 3 children. 2 years later, in 1958, Harold and Lillian would die in the home. After that, the house is sold to Julian and Amelia Enriquez, who owns the house from 1960 to 2015, but they never live in the house, so it sits vacant for 60 years. In 1994, the ownership does transfer from Amelia and Julian to their son Judy Enriquez, but he doesn't sell the house until after he passes away, and it's sold as part of his estate in 2015. They mostly just use the home for storage instead of living there, which is interesting because it's a 5,000 square foot mansion.
Right. That's an expensive storage unit.
Right.
Or, a fancy storage unit.
In 2016, Lisa and Braden Bloom purchased the house with big plans of renovating it. We'll get a little bit more into them, but Lisa Bloom is a famous attorney and the daughter of a famous attorney as well. Lisa and Braden wanted to renovate the house, but eventually ran into permitting issues and never moved in. Lisa and Braden then sell the house in 2020 to Zlotnitsky. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Who also wanted to renovate the house, but ended up putting it back on the market in 2022. It did not sell. It was taken back off the market. Zlotnitsky has defaulted on the interest of the loan now, and the property is to be auctioned off as is, with all proceeds going to the bank. And I think that's happening soon. The house has remained vacant pretty much since 1959, which is pretty crazy because it's in this like really affluent neighborhood. You know, you don't see that.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of urban legends around the house, obviously. I mean, a house sitting vacant is going to start some rumors. How the urban legends go, most of them surround the murder-suicide that happened in 1958 and the Pearlsons, who are the family that lived there at the time. The urban legends entail that on Christmas Eve in 1958, there was a murder-suicide. The wife was attacked by Dr. Pearlson, her husband, and killed with a ball-peen hammer, which is a hammer. It's got the ball on one end instead of the flat side. And then after the wife was attacked and killed, he then went to the daughter's bedroom and beat her. The daughter was able to get away and run to the neighbor's house. There were 2 other younger children in the home as well. All 3 children did survive. After attacking the mother and daughter, the father killed himself by drinking acid. The house has been vacant since the murder-suicide in 1958. The belongings of the Pearlson family remained in the home until Lisa and Braden purchased it in 2016.
Whoa.
That's pretty wild,
I wonder
right?
what they found.
Right?
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Like, to have been in there
right.
before 2016.
Ooh. We could have. We could have. No.
I know.
We just want to check some stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we are one of many.
Right. I bet.
If someone looked in the window before 2016, and many did, they'd see the furniture still there from the Pearlsons and even a Christmas tree and presents wrapped under the tree. Some urban explorers had broken into the house, and items that belonged to the Pearlsons were found. There was in Judy's bedroom, who's the oldest daughter, the one who was attacked, there was a light switch plate that had like hand-painted pink roses on it, and it looked like there was potentially blood splotches as well. Also, Dr. Pearlson's study on familial periodic paralysis was found. It was an old film reel that someone had. She actually went through quite a process to get it digitized and fixed to where people can view it today. The girl who fixed that, her name is Stacey Astenius, and her crew spent 7 years researching this property, and they were going to actually make a documentary out of it, but they ended up having so much content that they turned it into a podcast series instead.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'll definitely link them in the show notes because I did get most of my information from them. And they've got a really cool website too with like film footage and pictures and like records that they found that goes along with every episode that they have of
neat.
The series. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go into the Pearlsons a little bit and who they were. Harold Nathan Pearlson was born February 26, 1909, which is one day away from my birthday. So I don't I don't know what that means.
Nothing.
Nothing, yep. He was born in New York City. He grew up in Manhattan at age 28. He was living in LA. He married Lillian Silver. He graduated from City College of New York in 1931 with a Bachelor's of Science. And then he graduated in 1935, having received his MD from Long Island College. In 1955, he spoke to the California Medical College about headaches and how they're likely caused by food allergies and emotional strain. That was like a big study of his, is he was interested in how and why headaches happen, which at this point you're like, bless, sounds like a nice guy.
Right. Doing the good work. Headaches suck.
Please take my headaches away.
Right.
Dr. Pearlson ended up buying a private medical practice in Inglewood, California. Lillian, his wife, was born December 21st, 1916. In 1930, her family moved to LA. It's not quite known where Lillian and Harold met. We only know that they were engaged by 1927. They had 3 children, Judy in 1941, Joel in 1946, and Deborah or Debbie in 1948. So now we'll get into the murder-suicide. So this happened actually December 6th, 1959. I know in the urban legends it says a lot of people thought that it happened Christmas Eve, but that's actually not the case. December 6th, 1959, the father attacked Lillian from behind with the ball-peen hammer. It was thought that she was sleeping when he attacked her. It was about 5 a.m. in the morning. So he had actually gone to sleep, woken up, and then attacked his wife.
How strange.
I know. So he attacked her with the hammer, and then Judy's room was connected to their room through a Jack and Jill bathroom. So he then moved through the bathroom into Judy's room. It's thought that Lillian may not have woken up during the attack because the first blow may have been severe enough to where she was not conscious throughout it. But I don't think he was as accurate when he attacked Judy. So Judy woke up and he told her, "Be quiet, just lay there." And she started screaming. The neighbors say that all the neighbors could hear the screaming, and at first they thought maybe it was a wild animal. And then they heard her say, "Don't kill me." So they knew that it was a person at that point who was screaming. The 2 younger children at this point woke up from the screaming, and it said that Harold went to walk the 2. Harold saw the 2 younger children awake and said, "Go back to sleep. This is just a nightmare." He went to walk them back to their beds. While he was doing this, Judy got up, ran to the mother's room, saw what had happened to her mother, then ran downstairs and out of the house. She went to her first neighbor's house, Sherry Lewis, who was actually their babysitter. And Sherry had a friend sleeping over that night. Sherry and the friend could see someone at the door, but she couldn't recognize Judy because of the injury. And she didn't know who it was. And they were just like paralyzed in fear. And they were teenagers as well. And they didn't answer the door. So then it's so rough. And then Judy runs to the next neighbor's house, Marshall Ross, and he does open the door. He brings her inside, tries to figure out what's going on, but she's in a panic. He calls the cops, and I think his wife sits with Judy while he goes back to the house. When he gets in the house, he sees the 2 younger children on the bottom floor of the house near the entrance. And he leaves them there for a second, goes up to see what else is going on, and he sees Harold walking around just on the landing at the top of the stairs. Harold ends up telling him, something along the lines of, "Go home, don't bother me." So then he goes back downstairs with the 2 younger children, and the police end up arriving at 5:15. Right before he went back downstairs too, he did see Harold go into Judy's room and lay down on her bed. When the police get there, they find Harold on the floor on Judy's pillow, which was covered in blood. Harold was covered in blood as well when he walked up there and when Marshall saw him. At this point, Harold was still breathing, but before the ambulance came, he had stopped breathing. And the police went into, they investigated the home, and they did find a lot of pill capsules, so it looked like he had emptied pills out, the doctor, and consumed. He just poured the powder in, opened the capsule out and ate the powder so it would take effect quicker. Judy was taken to the hospital with a possible skull fracture. As part of the investigation, in Judy's sports car, the police did find a letter she had written to her aunt stating, in quotes, "On the merry-go-round again, same problems, same worries, only tenfold. My parents, so to speak, are in a bind financially." So it is coming to light that there may have been some financial problems for the Perlsons. The 3 kids were sent to live with relatives on the East Coast, and no one is sure where they are today. In Harold Perlson's death records, in the remarks, it's noted that the victim has some history with mental trouble and money trouble, but no marital trouble. Mrs. Perlson was found in a supine position, so on her back, and found in her night clothes and completely covered in blood. There was no suicide note found. There were blood spots that were throughout the whole upper floor of the house. Drawers where Harold kept his medications were stained with blood smears. They did find the Nembutal in his blood. No alcohol presence was in his blood. Nembutal or pentobarbital is a barbiturate prescribed for anxiety and sleep disorders. It is considered a dangerous medication today. It is used in states where assisted suicide is allowed. It's used for terminally ill patients to help patients in their suffering. You can experience death within about half an hour from that medication. The method of death listed was acute barbiturate intoxication due to ingestion of overdose, and it was listed as a suicide. There were also 31 white tablets that were found in his stomach, which are either codeine, barbiturates, or meprobate, which is a tranquilizer. Several spots of dried blood was found on Harold's body, and he also had linear abrasions or scratches found at the top of his chest, which I wonder, that must have been from Judy. Lillian's death report is pretty sad to hear about. Just she had a 3.5 centimeter ragged laceration at the back of her head, 3 other abrasions beneath the laceration. Subgaleal and subcutaneous hemorrhages were found, so there was blood in between the skull and the skin. The whites of her eyes were also red from hemorrhaging, which I guess means that she was awake, or not awake, but alive for some amount of time after the attack.
Damn.
The left side of her neck was 3 1 centimeter dark blue areas of discoloration. It was found she suffered severe pulmonary edema and congestion, and her actual cause of death was asphyxiation due to suffocation so she pretty much choked on her own blood.
Yikes.
Which explains why she hadn't screamed or made any noise to alert the children too. She couldn't. She was probably still asleep when the attack initiated and may not have been conscious at any time during the attack, which I hope for her. Above the door of Marshall Ross's door was a long streak of blood from Judy when she arrived for help. Also, Sherry Lewis's door was covered in blood as well. So that is the terrible events of the murder-suicide that night. Kind of want to go over some of the other tenants that lived in this house as well, because you'll find it didn't seem like many of the inhabitants of this house had good luck. So I mentioned earlier that the house was built for Harry Schumacher and his wife Florence. They both died the same year in 1928, which only 3 years after moving into the house, and the places of death for both were in the home. Harry and Florence were a very wealthy couple. They purchased the lots that the home was built on, lots 17 and 19, and built the 5,000 square foot house with 4 beds and 3 baths, and the lot was about 0.6 acres. The grade was very steep of the hill, and the garage was built at the bottom of the hill. Florence still died July 1st, 1928, of acute endocarditis, which is a bacterial infection of the heart, and also acute renal suppression, which is kidney failure. She was only 41 at the time of her death. The doctor was initially called on June 27th, and by July 1st, she had passed away, so it happened very quickly. Her husband, Harry, died 27 days later at 40 years old at, again, 2475 Glendower Place from bronchopneumonia. He was attended to by his doctor from July 5th until the 28th when he passed away, so he may have already been sick when his wife died on July 1st, because the doctor came only 4 days later.
Oh, wow.
Which is, yeah, isn't that just like a crazy coincidence? And it also makes me think of Brittany Murphy too.
I was thinking the exact same thing, like that's so odd.
The pneumonia.
But also it's in like what, the 1920s? So
right.
It's like, okay.
So it's more understandable then, for sure. And people did die in their homes a lot more back then too. Like now it's usually in the hospital. But I think it was like pre-1960s, people died in their homes a lot. It's weird Definitely gives like Brittany Murphy vibes, but only one of them died from pneumonia too. And again, it was 1920s, so a little more understandable at that time.
Right.
Harry's brother Orlando, as the administrator of the estate, had trouble selling the house. It sat vacant from July 28th until August 21st in 1928. Orlando and his wife and son did end up moving into the house to upkeep it in the meantime while they were trying to sell it or find renters for it. Orlando's wife was extremely opposed to moving into the house because their son had helped the father clean the house out to get it ready to be sold or for them to move into, and had gotten severely sick. The family's doctor said the son shouldn't be living there and the house is bad for his health.
Yikes.
Right. And also, it's giving Brittany Murphy.
Right. This is so strange.
It is. So Orlando and his family still moved in, as Orlando was advised by his lawyers to keep the property nice and to protect the valuable asset. The goal was to rent or sell the house. By May 1929, they did end up moving away. And I'm not sure if it's because the son got sick again or not, but they lived there for a little under a year. There were maids' quarters downstairs, and there was, in the third floor, was a ballroom, which was pretty cool. It was, like, spanned the entire third floor, and there was a bar in there as well, which tracks because it was built during Prohibition. So they kind of, like, hid the bar up in the attic. But it's kind of funny that you see those stairs going up to the attic in the front of the house as well, so it's not like super secret.
Right. Huh. Interesting.
So Harry tried to list the house with 15 different real estate agents, and although there was some interest, no one wanted to buy the property. It could have been the steps that led up to the hill, because it was a ton of steps to have to climb, and the garage was at the bottom of the hill as well. Or it could be all the repairs that needed to be done on the house, and the house is only 3 years old at this point. But during the 4 years that Harry was the administrator of the property, he had to do a lot of repairs on it. After staying at the property for a while, Orlando was finally able to procure some renters. There was a rental agreement for $250 a month from November 1929 to November 1930, but it is known that these tenants didn't stay the entire year. They ended up leaving in August instead of staying through November. The house did come furnished as well, so all the furnishings from the Schumachers were still in the house when people were renting it out. The next renter was Wilfred Beaton and his wife Sarah Louise. And Wilfred Beaton had a film publication. He critiqued films, and it was published somehow. I don't know if it was a newspaper or magazine or what it was. They had a son, Donald Beaton, and Wilfred let the son have a column in the publication as well, titled As It Compels to a Youth, where he would give his 2 cents on movies and films from the perspective of a youth.
Aw, like a podcast.
Right. Aw. He was the middle child of an older sister, Helen, who was 2 years older, and Mary, 2 years younger. Donald Beaton died at 20 years old in the house as well on his death certificate. The cause of his death was sporotrichosis, and he actually suffered with it for 3 years before passing. A doctor was called on May 1st, and he had passed away by May 3rd. And what sporotrichosis is a type of fungal infection. Donald had injured himself by playing tennis, and it was a type, and he got some kind of blister that caused the disease, I guess, to get into his blood or internal system somehow.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It was called the rose gardener's disease because usually it would be people who were outside, like around hay or certain kind of plants were known to have this fungus, and if they got like a little cut or scrape, it would get into their body.
Good.
Which is like, does that still exist today? I wonder.
It's like I will randomly hear like people like, oh, no one lets their kids play in the dirt nowadays, and people will be like, yeah, that's because you can like, if they have a little cut on their finger and like a cat peed in the dirt, then they'll get toxic plasmosis and die, and it's just like, right. I don't know, man.
But, like, is it true?
Right, yeah. Like, and, like, I heard, like, this one, I don't know where I heard this, so it's just totally, like, hearsay, but this girl was playing outside, this little girl, and there was a house under construction, like, the street over, and all the dust from the construction, like, entered her lungs and, like, killed her somehow, or... I don't know. It's like God. These crazy things that happen, and I guess it's not that common. We just like hear about them because they're,
and then it's terrifying,
right?
So I'm buying my son a bubble suit.
Right, exactly. Bubble boy.
No tennis for him.
No rose gardening.
None of that. Yeah.
Nope.
So yeah, Donald Beaton died 3 months shy of his 21st birthday, which is so tragic. And the Beaton's lease agreement ended 3 months later in July of 1931, when another Hollywood couple rented the house from December 1931 to May 1932. And this was George Arliss and his wife. And he was one of the most famous actors at the time. The house was advertised for sale one more time from Orlando to settle the estate of the Schumachers. And this time they used the famed actor George Arliss's name to entice a buyer, which seems like it worked because John Stauffer and his wife Beverly and their son Jack bought the house and moved in. They lived there for 30 years happily. This is like the best era for this house for sure. They were very wealthy, and Glendower Place was just one of the many homes that they had. They did end up building a new garage at the top of the hill, so they tore down that one at the bottom, moved it to the top, so you can now just go into the back door of the house instead of having to climb the hill. Nice. The mountain.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah. They entertained often. Jack, their child, spent his full childhood in the house from age 5 to 18, and he had a very happy childhood there. They ended up donating the home to Whittier College in 1954, and Whittier held on to it until 1956, when Harriet and Lillian then purchased the home. But I want to go over a little bit some of the urban explorers who went into the home when the Enriquezes owned the house. So Caldonia Hansen was interviewed by Stacey Astenius, and she was an urban explorer.
Right.
So when Caldonia got into the house, there were still coats hung up on hangers. There were books on shelves and model cars, old typewriters, maps on the walls, books. There was a bathroom under construction with an out of order sign on the toilet. There was a Christmas room with old wrapping paper in it. No tree or presents were seen in the room when she was there. There was a film canister, which was that one that Stacey had put back together and redigitized. Caldonia actually is the one who took it out of the house, and she had a pretty strict like only take pictures rule, but she just thought that this could be very valuable. She couldn't see what was on the film.
Oh yeah.
So she broke her rule for that one. And you can actually see the film that she digitized on their website as well.
Cool. I will check that out for sure.
It's pretty cool. There was also Joe Ramiro, who was an urban explorer who went into the house as well. He said when he was in there, he saw lots of old Playboy magazines, like a lot, like an unhealthy amount, he said. And they were all from the 1950s, so it very likely could have been the Pearlsons' belongings. It was hard to tell like what belonged to the Enriquez, who now owned the house and used it as storage, versus what was the Pearlsons from before. He did take one of the Playboys with him. There were lots of clothes and women's dresses and boxes of women's shoes, which Judy, the daughter, was known to have a ton of women's shoes and like really like shopping. So I wonder how many of those may have been hers. He did not see a Christmas tree, but he did see wrapping paper as well. He saw medical journals from Dr. Pearlson and patient information. So that definitely was from the Pearlsons. So that's proof that some of their belongings are definitely still in this house. And he did see the light switch plate as well with Judy's name on it, with the blood splotches on it, or some kind of brown splotches. We're not sure if it's blood or not. It's thought that there probably was a crime scene cleanup crew, but at the time those were usually private cleaning companies. So it's easily believed that they may have missed, a couple splotches on a light plate. So,
right.
Debunking some of the urban legends. As part of her interviews, Stacey was going around trying to find sources and where some of the rumors may have started, because there's a lot of discrepancies between what she found in like court records and then like what the rumors around town were. Like, for fact that he drank acid to kill himself wasn't true. It was a pill overdose. And that there was a Christmas tree in the house with presents wrapped under it. And the Pearlsons were also Jewish, but it is thought that they were still putting up a Christmas tree. So just being Jewish doesn't mean you don't have a Christmas tree. But if there were still wrapped presents under it in, 2005, 2006, like, that's pretty wild. So Stacey wanted to get to the bottom of that. So she found the first article she could find written on the murder mansion was in, I believe, 2009, and it was written by Bob Poole. And Bob Poole cites in his article that you can see the Christmas tree and Christmas presents under it. So she went to Bob Poole and asked him where he got his information from, and he said that he got it from a house painter named Steve Kolepsky. So Steve Kolepsky painted the house next door to Los Feliz mansion and asked the owners of the house, hey, what's up with that like abandoned house next door? And they said, oh, there was a murder suicide there, and kind of give him some of the backstory. He ended up going up to the house like one night with some friends, just like, they were trying to freak each other out type of outing. Yeah. And he looked into the window and he did see a Christmas tree, but he didn't see wrapped presents under it. But he started bringing friends to this house all the time. And he's just like known to be like a jokester. And he started embellishing the story, saying, oh, it was on Christmas Eve and you can see the wrapped presents under the Christmas tree. And he pretty much started a lot of the... Yeah. And he is known to bring over 50 people to the house. So
oh my gosh.
He started a lot of the urban legends that lived on with the house for like another 10 years, even to this day. So that's kind of funny. During Stacey's research as well, she wanted to go into all the public records she could get a hold of, pretty much. And a lot of that was the probate records. And probate is the process of when the state or county or some kind of government works on settling an estate. So kind of balancing out the debts and the assets and like who needs to get paid, and then the heirs get what's left over after the debts are paid off. Okay, so as part of the probate records, they pretty much discovered through the research that Harold and Lillian were in a lot of financial stress, and they also discovered proof that Harold had been hospitalized for mental health issues as well in 1957, I'm pretty sure, the year before. Yes, because the murder happened in 1959. So in 1958, actually, he was hospitalized. And they saw that because this was before HIPAA, and it was part of, like, the debts that he owed from his estate still was paying off that hospital bill. And he ended up being hospitalized for 8 days, and he had his own room during that time at Temple Hospital from August 19th to 27th in 1958. The bill lists treatments, but it doesn't have any of the patient records or notes. The word emergency was used in the bill, so it was some kind of emergency that he came in for. And it also states that he was given a catheter to drain his bladder, which is usually for someone who's unconscious or can't drain their bladder for some reason. A Levin tube was used, which is usually for either emptying the stomach contents or tube feedings. And medications for suffering from low blood pressure was also given. And one of the medications that were used for low blood pressure is typically used for patients who are having trouble coming out of being under anesthesia. So almost to like wake someone up.
Oh, damn.
So all this points to maybe a potential overdose or suicide attempt the year before the murder-suicide happened. Thorazine was also used for him, which is the first antipsychotic that's ever existed. It's used for violent patients or aggressive behavior. And that's not to say that everyone who's been prescribed Thorazine is violent, but we do know that he did have violent tendencies obviously. So for him, it may have been used for those purposes. Some of the financial records showed that, and you have to keep in mind looking at this, that $1 then is about $9 now. So you can almost times anything by 10 to see like what it would cost today. There was a lot of small bills. Some was for like a cleaning company that it's thought may have been the company that came in and cleaned up the crime scene. But there was also some really large debts that they owed, which was a tuition for their son's military school, $665. So that's like $6,000 today. And some of that was past due, so they were not up to date on those payments. Over $2,400 in back taxes to the IRS, so like $24,000. Thousands to doctors and pharmaceutical companies, labs, and other business expenses that was owed. Several $100s in bounce checks to many individuals. And the largest debt that was owed was to Max Ivar, who they bought the Inglewood Medical Clinic from. And he still owed them $53,000. And the monthly payments for this was going to increase in January from $200 a month to $1,000 a month in January 1960. So that was impending. So that's like $10,000 a month in today's.
That's insane.
So it did seem that Harold Perlson was very concerned with appearances and making it seem like they had more money than they did, because he made a lot of. He didn't have to move into this expensive mansion, and he didn't have to buy that medical practice. Like they were doing okay. So it's just kind of strange that he put them in that financial place, I guess. But it seemed either appearances were really important to him, and then there was also some kind of mental health issues going on as well. So
it seems very like impulsive, you know?
Yes. Yep. And it definitely can like kind of show what could have led to the murder-suicide as well. I think this is the last little section of notes that I have, but it kind of just goes over the time after the Perlsons murder-suicide and after they owned the house to what's gone on with the house since. So the Enriquezes owned the house from 1960 until 2015 when Lisa and Braden Bloom bought it. Lisa is the daughter of famed women's rights Gloria Aldred attorney, and she represented Jane Roe of the Way versus Road court case, which is really cool. That was Gloria Aldred, so Lisa Bloom's mother. And Gloria also just took cases that represented the interest of women and victims of discrimination and harassment. Lisa does similar work, taking on clients that are victims of harassment, discrimination, and abuse. She's represented Misha Barton, Lindsay Lohan's father, and Kathy Griffith, who got in trouble with Trump and the Secret Service for, I think, like holding up like a decapitated Trump head and saying something with it. I don't know the details. There did end up being a falling out, though, between Lisa and Kathy, and I guess the whole thing ended messy between the two of them.
Dang.
Now, the weird thing is she also represented clients in a sexual harassment case that ended Bill O'Reilly's career. So go her. But then more recently, she, I believe, represented Harvey Weinstein. So that doesn't really align with her previous work. So that's interesting. Ew. So Lisa and Braden wanted to renovate the house, but they eventually ran into permitting issues. If they wanted to remodel certain portions of the house, they were going to have to bring the entire house up to current California code, and the code for the grades that the house was built on had changed since then. So the grade of the hill now is too steep for California building codes, and they would have to pretty much tear the entire house down, regrade the hill, and then rebuild on top of it. They had started renovations and they sold everything in the home. So all the Perlsons and Enriquez's stuff is gone. I'm sure the Enriquez's got some of their stuff out before selling, but yeah, everything in the house was auctioned off or sold, and no one knows like where it went to. And so everything's down to the studs now, but it ended up not being worth it to demolish the whole house and rebuild. They didn't want to wait that amount of time or spend that kind of money on it, so they ended up reselling. Stacey did get a hold of Rudy Enriquez, who is the guy who owned the house from 1994 until the Blooms bought it. And he was a super nice guy. He was totally willing to talk to her, and he's talked to other people in the past about the home as well, although he's never done like interviews. He told Stacey that his parents actually lived in the house for 30 years while they owned it, which means it wouldn't have sat vacant all that time. So it's interesting that he said that. It's also interesting, if they lived there all that time, why didn't they remove the belongings of the Pearlsons? Because obviously the light plate switch was there, that film roll was there, the patient information was still there. It didn't seem like anyone had really moved in full time. Neighbors don't remember much activity next door either, except sometimes seeing an old woman go up and down the stairs, which is probably his mother, Amelia. Did you think it was like a haunting?
Right. Oh, yeah. That would be so creepy, though.
Yeah. Rudy did end up passing away a little bit after Stacey met him, and Stacey became like kind of good friends with him. It was pretty cute. Like, they would have a phone call like once a week about and just like catch up. And then one day he just stopped answering her calls, so she thought, oh, maybe he's sick of me, but it turns out he actually had a heart attack and passed away.
Dang.
They did end up coming. Someone reached out to Stacey, I believe it was Rudy's niece, and said that she was on the list of people who were invited to his wake, I think it was called. It was some kind of death gathering, memorial, I think that's what it was. And she wasn't able to attend, but she did kind of get this connection to his niece, who gave her a connection to someone called Richard, who was a good friend of Rudy's. So they went to the Enriquez family home in Lincoln Heights, which is where Richard now lived. And it's the house that Rudy's Mexican immigrant grandparents bought when they first came to California. They were very wealthy when they came, so they had servants and stuff like that, but this house was much more modest compared to the mansion that they owned in Los Feliz. So Richard ended up giving Stacey and her team a bunch of documents that belonged to Rudy. In these documents, Rudy had used some of the same pages as Dr. Pearlson's patient notes and patient files to keep financial notes on. So just like in the margins where the doctor had not used the paper space, Rudy was like, spent $40 on this.
Oh my gosh. That's an odd choice.
Yeah. He must have been very frugal too, like not wanting, even though he was loaded, he had a lot of money, but I guess he didn't want to go buy, paper if there was some unused spaces on this paper.
Right. I mean, that's how. That's how we had so much money.
Right. He would also turn some of the folders from the doctor's patient files inside out and like use the back side of the tabs. So.
Oh my gosh.
Just super interesting. Yeah. He ended up, throughout his life, Rudy ended up letting a lot of people loan money. He was a very generous person. He also would keep notes in a journal format that they got from Richard as well. In these notes, they found a note that said Philippe had moved from the Glendower house in 1976, and then a note saying he had asked Philippe to move back in, and then another note saying Philippe did move back in. So there is proof that someone named Philippe was living there for some amount of time. It also kind of feels like to me, because I'm assuming Philippe is one of his friends, because again, he was a very generous person. Even Richard, who was living in the grandparents' house, he ended up giving that house to Richard because Richard had some kind of like health issues and he wasn't able to work, so he gave that family house to Richard. So he just seemed like a very generous person. So I think he's letting Philippe stay there, which makes me think his parents probably aren't staying there.
Yeah. Huh.
And then it's like, how long did Philippe live there? We don't know, but obviously the house wasn't completely vacant from 1959 through 2015. They also found utility bills for the Glendower house from 1982 to 1989 that showed average usage for the time as well. So that suggests someone may have been living there as well. Maybe Amelia, who was his mother, who the bills were in her name as well. And Richard didn't think that Rudy or his parents lived there, but he couldn't be sure. So then someone else Stacey was able to find an interview is a guy named Frank Moda, who had gone to high school with Rudy. Rudy was the manager of a record store for about 30 years, and Rudy ended up offering Frank a job after Frank graduated from high school. And Frank worked with Rudy at the store for about 6 years. Rudy and Frank became really close friends during this time. So, and Rudy almost ended up kind of adopting Frank as his little brother because Rudy didn't have any siblings himself, so they were very close friends. Frank says that Rudy was very religious. He wanted to be a Catholic priest at some point, but he had overheard his mother saying to someone at one point that she was afraid she'd lose him if he became a priest because she wasn't sure where he'd be stationed. So, not wanting to upset his mom, he ended up abandoning that dream, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
He seemed very devoted to his parents. He was engaged to a woman at one point, and she ended up dying in an automobile accident, and he never showed interest in another woman again. Amelia and Julian, his parents, both died in the Lincoln Heights home, which also suggests that they probably were not living in the Glendower Place home at that time. So the question is, like, why buy this mansion, right, and not live in it for, like, 60 years? It's so strange. Amelia, his mom, was kind of a badass, and she would, like, be a mechanic on cars. She worked at their family convenience store gas station that they owned. One time she was robbed at the gas station at gunpoint, and when they realized there was only $2 in the register, the robbers actually gave her the money back and ended up paying for their gas, saying, "We're more rich than you."
Oh my God.
And so why did they buy the mansion and not live there? What Frank thinks, or Frank actually knows, that they bought the mansion for Rudy. Since he was unmarried, they thought he can either live in it or he can use it to support any kind of assisted living or anything he might need in his older age. So they bought it as an investment for him. And it was really, Frank had asked them at the time, like, I can't believe they let you guys buy a house there, because at the time Mexicans weren't really allowed to buy homes in those areas. Like, there is some documents of real estate agents saying, oh, I'd lose my job if I sold it to anyone but a white person in that neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
But the reason that they were able to buy it is because no one would buy the house. I think it was on the market for a steal for like 2 years, but no one would buy the house. So they bought it as an investment for their son, Rudy. And they think that the parents never lived there full time because they never really felt comfortable in that neighborhood. Even though they were like as wealthy as all the people around there, they didn't feel at home there, probably.
Yikes.
And then they feel like Rudy may have felt the same as well. And also, although he had a lot of money, he never lived in a way where people would know that. He was pretty simple with the way he lived, and a lot, like Frank, for instance, his friend thinks that it was too ostentatious of a property for him. But he did keep his cats there for some amount of time and would go by to feed them.
Oh, kitty
like
mansion.
Yeah. And that's just kind of an interesting duality too, that the owners before the Pearlsons were so concerned with like looking like they had money, whereas the next owners, the Enriquez's, did have a lot of money and were the opposite, kind of more modest.
Or like humble. Yeah.
And that is really all on the murder house. Now it's owned by a financial investor. That's not the right word. A real estate investor bought the property in 2020 and hasn't been able to do the renovations that they wanted. I don't know if it's because permitting issues as well. But yeah, the house has still remained vacant. It's still gutted down to the studs with nothing in it. No one's able to do anything with it, apparently. And it's crazy because like so many people are obsessed with the house and like would love to own it, but it's just not a good investment either.
Ooh,
so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would want to take a gamble living in a house that, like, people, I don't know. Oof.
Were murdered in.
Right. I just don't know if I could do it.
Well, the Stoffers were very happy there.
That is true. Without incident. So.
Yes. The one occupants.
Yeah. Yes. They were just like super good. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've watched American Horror Story, but I feel like there is like a subplot where there's a husband. It's like a murder-suicide situation in the story.
I can't remember the first season very well either. And I'm not even sure if it's like the story of the Pearlsons or just the house itself that was inspiration. But yeah, that was a cool deep dive. I like fell into it, I don't know, maybe 4 days ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really good. I want to look up the house now, actually.
You can see that staircase going up to the 3rd floor.
Oh, creepy.
Isn't that weird?
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, and okay, so there's the Pearlsons. Oh, so weird.
I know, dude.
Wow. Yeah, that was super interesting, for sure.
I may have been in LA, too. Like, I think I was in LA. Ugh, and I had no idea at the time. Like pre-2016.
Dang it.
Ouch. Ouch. I did go stay at the Queen Mary, though, so I still got my spooky in.
That is super cool. Like, I think that's so dope.
Yeah. It would be so cool to go, like, to a spooky place together one time.
We
for the
should.
content.
Right. Exactly. No, we should have, like, a little girls trip. Hey, I'm gonna be back in July, so.
Oh yeah. Ooh, we could go to like St. Augustine, or there's some spooky places around here.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. That'd be super cool. Well, we are surviving after the Eras tour.
It's rough. It's rough out here. I should probably note that Sam's name today is Eras Tour Anonymous. So we're about to initiate that meeting.
Right. My name is Samantha, and yours is Eras Ghost and Me. I did find something very interesting, though, and I don't know if you've seen a lot of it, but you know how we were kind of like a little bit womp about the outfits being the same on the last 3, or I guess technically 4 nights, because it was the same as in Toronto, I believe. But it's not like we were like raging, like legitimately like mad. But I've been seeing a lot of discourse like between, like we're a part of some of the same groups on Facebook for Taylor Swift, and there's a few Taylor Swift like content creators on TikTok, and they're like, hot take, anyone who's upset over the outfits need to get a life, and blah 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 blah. And
my goodness,
they're legitimately mad over like people like kind of exploring the little upset Easter eggs, and yeah, and the clowning of it all. And it's like, dude, like, chill, like, it's fine, right? We're not that upset.
No,
we'll be okay.
Right. Yeah. I always think that's funny. And like when people are trying to like doing crazy math, trying to figure out Easter eggs, and then people will be so upset. They're like, you shouldn't have to do calculus. Like, settle down. Like, you can see your way out. Like, no one asked you to be here.
Right.
We're just having fun with it.
Exactly. And it is definitely not calculus. Like, simple addition. They're like, as soon as I see a spreadsheet, I'm out. It's like, dude, stop. Because it's like, it's just part of the fun of it. And some of the things like, and I don't know what interview it was, but Taylor was like, sometimes the math does add up, and I didn't even mean to do it like that. And it's just fun to find those little connections, and it's not like we're getting all up in our feels if a theory is wrong. We were wrong the whole time. But it's like, let people have their fun, man. And I found this really interesting fact about Clara Bow, actually.
Ooh.
It's just a funny little thing. She was in this movie called Dangerous Curves in 1929. Okay. And I don't really know the premise too much of the movie, but I'm going to see if you can see this. But look what she's dressed up as.
A clown.
Ah! Right?
It's a sign.
So, Easter. And I actually found that out because someone on TikTok had posted this, I guess like the 1975 had done a music video a while back, and in it is this clown that, and it's supposed to be like a black and white silent film kind of thing. And I don't really listen to the 1975, so I'm not too sure. No. But in the video is a clown with Clarabelle always wore this certain hat, and actually the last picture ever taken of her before she passed away, she was in the same hat. So it's like Clarabelle as a clown in this hat in the video, and people are like, is that secretly Taylor Swift or something, like, or is it representative of Taylor Swift? I don't know. But
it would have to be almost, right?
I would say so. They were pretty involved. But I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
So, we're gonna keep clowning.
We clown on.
Be mad.
Yeah. Sorry to upset you.
Right.
What's our next clown date? I'm thinking, like, I'm still clowning for the teacup to make sense in February. We got a new February coming around. So.
And isn't the Grammys in February?
That sounds about right, because I think it was last year.
Right, and that's when we got, I don't know, would she do, like, another...
I don't know.
Announcement.
Yeah, February 2nd.
I think next year we're going to be getting... And it's pretty much 2025, so it's pretty much this year.
I feel like it's close, though.
Right. But will it be rep
the
first
Fire
or debut
Vault
first?
Tracks.
The Fire Vault Tracks, oh my god. It's like she hasn't really talked much, because she was... Yeah,
I know.
She was saying Rep had the Fire Vault Track, so it would kind of make sense that would be next.
And was that in 2023?
Yeah. It was in that Time magazine interview last year.
And it's just like, that was so rep-coded, and we haven't really seen anything super rep-coded since. And it's just like, what happened?
I know. I'm so excited, though, and we found out, and it makes sense, that Midnights and Tortured Poets are sister albums.
I know.
She said.
Oh, yeah.
And someone pointed out, because she says that, like, Midnights is about, like, 13 sleepless nights throughout her life. And then Tortured Poets starts out with Fortnight, which is the 14th night.
Oh. I love it.
No, 2025 is going to be a good year for us, I feel.
This year because there was one re-recording, one regular album, right? A year, was that right?
I think it's like 2 re-recordings, then a new album, 2 re-recordings.
Oh, so 2 in 1 year, and then a new album, and then 2. Okay, so we should get 2 re-recordings then.
Right.
Coming up. I'm still, like, really hoping for Rep and Karma double drop.
Oh my gosh,
Not to be chanting more.
Right. It just, the stars align, like.
It would be very poetic.
It would. Yeah. And then I do wonder if something else is going to come out with the Heirs tour, with the Tortured Poets era added in, since they were all because she was filming.
Oh, for sure. I think we're definitely getting that. Yeah.
She's filming with the same outfits.
Right.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Crimenelia Street. You can follow us on Instagram at Crimenelia Street or on TikTok at Crimenelia ST Podcast. And feel free to send us an email at crimeneliast@gmail.com. See you later, clowns.
Bye, clowns.